Welcome everyone to Thursday, July 18th, the Mississippi Board of Nursing hearings. Before we begin, we would like to take just a moment for silence, and I will ask Dr. Gentry to lead us in a word of prayer, please.
Will you bow with me, please? Gracious Father, thank you for this beautiful Thursday and the sunshine you sent us. Thank you for the good work we do here at the Mississippi Board of Nursing. And thank you especially for all the staff that give so much of their time and talents. We're grateful for them and their gifts. Thank you for the profession of nursing and all the good we do in our state and beyond. We ask that you bless us with wisdom and discernment today as we get through these cases. I thank you for every member of this board and all the gifts they bring. Bless us, be with our families and loved ones and friends, wherever they may be, and just put a hedge of protection around them today and help us to be about your business and help us to be your hands and feet. In your son's holy name, we ask all these things. Amen.
So if you're ready to go on the record, first I want to make introductions. The full board is made up of 13 members, 7 RNs, 4 LPNs, 1 physician member, and 1 consumer. Today, we are a 3-member panel of the board with one of us serving as an alternate. The alternate will not participate in either the deliberations or the decisions concerning this case. And we also have a new board member with us, and we'll ask, in fact, I'll let you introduce yourself and then we'll just come around.
Beverly Oliver. Carly Walker, LPN.
Lacey Gentry, RN.
And I'm Mary Stewart. I'm an RN member. And then our hearing panel, hearing officer today, rather, is the Special Assistant Attorney General, Kristen Love, and we'll turn it over to her.
Good morning. Again, I am Kristen Love, and I will serve as the hearing officer for hearings today. I'll call up the first matter on the docket, case number 2022-0252, involving the licensee, Ms. Laura Musgrove, license number R-896218. My role during the course of this proceeding will be to rule on objections to questions or evidence raised by the parties, to see to the orderly process of the proceedings, and to ensure that the proceedings are conducted in accordance with the applicable laws and rules. At this time, I have members of the hearing panel for this case to state their names for the record.
Mary Stewart, RN.
Lacey Gentry, RN.
Thank you. And will the attorney representing the board state your name for the record?
Brandon Walker.
Is the licensee, Ms. Laura Musgrove, present?
No, Your Honor, she is not. We have checked the sign-in sheet and she is still not here, and it is now 10 after 9. She was noticed to be here at 8:30. I can address that if you would like.
Yeah, as a preliminary matter, if you wanted to call a witness to provide the notice, to discuss the notice provided to Ms. Musgrove.
Yes, Your Honor, we'd like to call Ms. Wanda Jones.
And I'll let the court reporter swear in.
With your referring to the testimony about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Okay.
We'd also, as a preliminary matter, Your Honor, we request to introduce an evidence B1 through B17.
It's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's okay, I'd waive my opening. I'm just gonna call Ms. Jones.
If you just want to talk only, I want to just kind of establish the notice that was provided to
Can do that.
licensee before we begin with the actual hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Jones, if you would turn to page 8, would you tell that board panel what that is?
Page 8 is a notice of hearing for Laura Musgrove.
And what day did it notice her for a hearing?
Her date of hearing is July 18th, 2024,
What time?
8:30 a.m.
And is that notice for hearing here at the board?
Yes,
If you would, before we flip over, you see the certified mail number at the top of that notice?
I do.
Can you verify for me that the last 4, the 0968 or the last 4, 096871 or the last 6? You see that
Yes,
on top of that notice of hearing?
yes.
We flip over to page 11 and tell us what that is.
Page 11 is the USPS tracking report for the certified letter sent to Ms. Musgrove.
And do you see 96871 also on that tracking?
Yes,
Now, does that match the notice that was sent to Ms. Musgrove?
yes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jones. Your Honor, we've properly noticed Ms. Musgrove is here and she has not appeared today.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it appears, Ms. Musgrove received a statutory notice of today's hearing and that she is not present and has not provided any reason, why she could not appear today. So we will proceed with the hearing in her absence. You may begin with openings if you want to, or call your first witness.
I'll just call my witness. I'll waive an opening. I think we can address it pretty quickly and get to the point without an opening. Ms. Jones, will you state your name, county residence, and your current place of employment for the record?
Tawanda Jones, place of residency is Rankin County, and I work for the Mississippi Board of Nursing.
And how long have you worked here at the board?
I've worked at the Board of Nursing for 6 years.
And can you tell us what you do at the board?
I'm an investigator with the Board of Nursing.
And so as part of your job to investigate complaints that come in regarding nursing license?
Yes,
Flip over to page 5 for me real quick, please. Can you identify what's on page 5?
page 5 is a license verification.
And who's that verification for?
Laura Musgrove.
Can you tell the panel when she was first licensed?
Her license was issued on February 26, 2014.
And what was she licensed as?
A registered nurse.
Thank you. Turn over to page 9. Will you identify that for the record?
Page 9 is the complaint.
Can you tell the panel what the charges are against Ms. Musgrove, please?
Charge 1, the respondent has negligently or willfully acted in a manner inconsistent with the health or safety of the persons under the licensee's care. Charge 2, the respondent has negligently or willfully practiced nursing in a manner that fails to meet general accepted standards of such nursing practice.
And are there any facts listed in that complaint that would support those charges?
Yes,
Can you can read them or sum them up if you would for the record?
okay. On about September 7th, the respondent was hired at the state hospital as an LPN. And on March 8th, 2022, it was reported that the respondent shaved 3 patients using her personal eyebrow razor and without an order from a physician or a nurse practitioner and without sanitary measures taking place. 2 of the 3 residents had a note in their file for blood, body fluid protection because of HIV, and the other patient was not HIV positive. The respondent admitted to shaving the patients in her statement, and she stated that she was not aware that she needed an order in order to shave those patients. In addition, the respondent had several other issues regarding her patient care while employed in Mississippi State Hospital. Keep reading.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so one in particular was there was a patient there that tested positive for TB. So the nurse practitioner ordered a blood serum pregnancy test in order for her to get an X-ray. When they came to get the patient for the X-ray, they determined that the pregnancy test had not been done. So therefore, the patient had to wait before getting the X-ray. And then there were several other orders dealing with transcribing orders into the patient's record and on the mark.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. If you would look at page 12 for us. Can you identify this for the record?
Page 12 is the investigative facility report for the Mississippi State Hospital.
And can you tell us by looking at that, who authored that report? I think it's,
The author of the report was Petra Askew, RN, and she is the quality assurance investigator.
and so is this the report that Ms. Petra's findings, where she made this report, is based on her findings?
Yes,
And can you tell us what the date is on that?
The date of the report is March 22nd, 2022.
In the first paragraph, can you tell us if, I think it talks about Ms. Musgrove's act. Does it say that it was witnessed by any others?
Yes,
And what was she observed doing?
she was observed shaving the three patients with a eyebrow razor.
Does it say if the razor was ever sanitized?
It was not witnessed her sanitizing the eyebrow razor in between each patient.
So was there anything significant about the order in which the patients were shaved? Does it say?
It does. The first two patients that were shaved were those patients that had a notice in the chart for blood body. That to be careful with those patients. And the third patient did not have that order in their chart.
In that order, would it have been that the BBFP?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the blood body fluid.
Okay. That second paragraph, will you just read that for us, please, for the record?
On March 9th, 2022, RN Diaz notified DON Holly Vanderfort of the incident, and they met with RN Musgrove, who admitted to the incident. They explained her actions were inappropriate in that, one, she shaved patients with her personal razor. Two, she shaved multiple patients with the same razor. And three, two of the three patients had BBPF. After their discussion, Musgrove verbalized understanding why her actions were inappropriate.
So according to this report, she understood what she did was wrong.
Yes.
All right, let's look at page 40, please. Yeah. Can you tell us whose statement this is? Or who gave this statement?
This is a statement that Laura Musgrove gave me during the course of the investigation.
And did she sign this statement?
Yes.
On that first page, what did she admit that she did?
She admitted to shaving the three residents with her personal eyebrow razor.
Was she aware that she needed an order for that?
She said she was not aware.
Let's look at just a few statements. I'm not gonna look at all of them about the incident. I think one of them is on page 36. Yeah. Can you tell by looking at that, I think it's at the bottom, who gave this statement?
KM Davis.
And what date was that statement given?
The date, excuse me, the date of the statement is March 8th, 2022.
And why does it say in her statement, why does Ms. Davis say that she walked downstairs?
She walked downstairs because someone told her to come and witness what she saw, which was the nurse Musgrove shaving the residents with her personal eyebrow.
And what, I believe she said, what did the patient tell her when she asked if Ms. Musgrove had shaved the patient's lip?
The patient answered yes.
And according to her, Ms. Davis's statement, how many patients was Ms. Davis told that she had shaved?
3.
And on the next page, page 37, who's this statement from?
This statement is from Pace.
And I believe, is this the same nurse that was referenced in this other statement by Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Okay. And what does Ms. Pace say that she told Ms. Musgrove about shaving the patient's face?
She instructed her that she needed an order in order to shave patients.
And did she say that there was anything in Ms. Musgrove's hand?
She saw the personal eyebrow razor in her hand.
And again, in this statement, how many patients did she say that Ms. Musgrove shaved?
3.
All right, and we got another statement on the next page, on page 38. Who gave this statement?
This is Caitlin Radica.
And what does she say that she observed Ms. Musgrove doing?
This statement says that Ms. Radica observed Ms. Musgrove shaving the 3 patients as well.
And according to her, did she see Ms. Musgrove take any sanitary measures?
No, she did not.
And we've kind of touched on this already, but just one more time, why was it such a big deal that she didn't take any sanitary measures in this instance particularly?
Because 2 of the 3 residents had blood body fluid protection noted in their files.
Let's look at another document. I think it's on page 21. Can you tell us what this document is titled?
This document on page 21 is entitled Employee Conference Report.
What employee is named on this conference record?
Laura Musgrove.
And can you tell us what it says under where it says problem elaboration right there? You see that?
I do.
Will you tell us what it says under there?
Musgrove RN shaved 3 patients with her personal razor, 3/8/22. 2 of the 3 patients are on BBFP. Patients did not have an order. Keep going.
Yeah, if you can
Okay.
make that up.
And the DON and Diaz talked to Ms. Musgrove on 3/9 to discuss the importance of having the razor on, using the same razor for the same patients and not having an order.
And I believe under there is a response by Ms. Musgrove. Can you kind of sum that up, what she says that she did?
It says the patients did not handle the razor. I trimmed the eyebrows and then the lip. Razor clean between, and I did not realize I needed an order for shaving.
And so according to her, she cleaned it, is what
Yeah.
she's saying. But we have 3 statements that contradict that. Is that right?
That's correct.
During your investigation, did you find that she had other issues that involved patient care?
Yes.
All right, let's look at some of those incidents. Turn over to page 23. Okay, can you identify this for the record?
This is a statement that was prepared by the director of nursing for the facility.
And can you see the date on this?
Yes,
What's that date of this report?
March 10th, 2022.
All right, so this was after the incident involving the shaving of the patients. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Can you tell us what this is a list of right here on this report?
this report has a list of occurrences that they dealt with Ms. Musgrove during her employment time.
In that first paragraph, can you kind of sum up what she talks about in that first paragraph? Or you can read it, it's whichever is
The
easier.
first paragraph.
Yes, ma'am. If you want to run through that,
Paragraph of the
the first paragraph, yes, ma'am.
Okay, Haley and I have gotten together and compiled a list of occurrences that have been dealt with Ms. Musgrove. We were hopeful that her transferring to 81 would be a positive change for her, but things have just continued to happen. It is doubling work on the nurses and providers because they are having to double check everything she does. Haley and I have spoken with her after each of these occurrences to correct her. However, things continue to happen and get missed. Haley has made cheat sheets to make things easier for her, but these errors still occur. I'm not sure if it is the fast pace of CDU or if there's something else going on. The following has happened on CDU since she's been here. Okay.
That's fine. We'll just look at some of those incidents. In that first bullet, does it talk about her shaving the patients?
Yes, the first bullet is the incident that occurred on March 8th with the 3 patients.
All right, and then the report also in the second bullet talks about a chest X-ray that was ordered. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, a patient tested positive for TB. So the nurse practitioner requested blood work to be done for a serum pregnancy test. Ms. Musgrove did not put the requisition in for the serum pregnancy test. So when the X-ray came to get the patient, they checked to see if there was a result of that test. It was not a result in there, so the patient had to wait to the following Monday in order to get her X-ray.
All right, thank you. And in that third bullet point, What does Ms. Vanderford say about orders being transcribed by Ms. Musgrove?
It talks about her making errors with the orders being put in the MAR incorrectly, which required corrections.
Well, according to that, does this seem like, according to what we've seen and what your investigation revealed, was this like just one-offs or was this reoccurring problems with the orders?
No, it was a reoccurring order with, problem with the orders.
On the bottom of the page or toward the bottom, what does Ms. Vanderford say about Ms. Musgrove and confusing patients?
Oh, that was an incident where the patients, multiple patients were tested for COVID, and some of them tested positive while others tested negative. And what Ms. Musgrove did was she confused the patient and told the patient that she was positive for COVID, so the patient would start crying.
So according to this report, they've had multiple issues with Ms. Musgrove. This wasn't just the shaving incident. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the hearing panel for this witness? No questions from the panel, so do you?
I tender the witness, Your Honor, with state rests.
Any closing statement?
Yeah, Your Honor, I'll give a short closing, I guess. Ms. Musgrove took it upon herself to shave 3 patients at a facility she was working at. She did this without any orders and with her personal razor. 2 of the 3 patients were blood and body fluid precaution for HIV. Not only did her actions fail to meet the generally accepted standards of the nursing practice, she also put patients under her care in harm's way. While at the facility, she's had several issues with patient care, so much to the point that it was reported to other nurses did not want to work with her. According to Mississippi Code annotated 73-15-29-1, this board has the power to take disciplinary action on the license of a nurse if a nurse has violated the rules and regulations governing nursing. Ms. Musgrove has clearly violated those rules, and considering the evidence today, we respectfully request that this board panel consider taking disciplinary action on the license of Ms. Musgrove. Thank you, Your Honor.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion for the board to go into closed session to determine whether grounds exist to go into executive session to deliberate on case number 2022-0252.
Make a motion, we go into closed session.
Any opposition? Hearing none, at this time, I'll entertain a motion from the board to actually go into executive session to deliberate on this case.
Make a motion, we go into session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the board is now in executive session. We'll return with this decision in this matter. Right, we are back on the record. I will announce the board's decision in case number 2022-0252 involving the licensee, Ms. Laura K. McLaren Musgrove. The board finds unanimously the licensee is guilty as charged. Charge 1 guilty, charge 2 guilty, and the penalty imposed is revocation. That concludes the announcement in that case. And with the next matter, yesterday, case number 2023-00665 involving the licensee, Ms. Rose Howard, license number P-319998. That matter was called for hearing on yesterday, Wednesday, July 17th. The matter was called for hearing, and the hearing opened and began. And after the state had rested and the licensee, Ms. Rose Howard, testified during cross-examination, it became apparent that prior to the hearing, Ms. Howard timely subpoenaed certain witnesses. So with that, the board council proposed allowing the hearing to adjourn, to suspend the proceedings, to give the board and council an opportunity to issue the subpoenas requested by Ms. Howard. Ms. Howard initially indicated that she wanted to proceed without the subpoenaed witnesses, but then had an opportunity to reflect on it more, and then decided to allow for the adjournment, suspension of the proceedings to allow the board time to issue the subpoenas. Then I understand today she is back and would like to proceed with the hearings, with her hearing, without the subpoenaed witnesses, without giving the board an opportunity to, board council an opportunity to issue the subpoena she requested. And so before we begin, I guess if you want to speak to your decision and, you know, actually state your decision. But before you do that, I'll let the court reporter swear you in.
She ain't not sworn in.
She was yesterday. You found today?
Continue. Just state on the record. You can.
And continue. Yes, so you were sworn in on yesterday? All right, so we're gonna continue with that.
You're still under oath.
Yes, I'm gonna go on with the proceeding without the subpoenas.
So, would you like to officially withdraw your request for the board to issue the subpoenas?
I will. I'll let you do it.
It is withdrawn. Proceed with, the hearing.
Yes.
Any questions from board council or any representations you'd like to make on the record on the matter?
No, Your Honor, I think you recapped everything. Yesterday, as I began cross, I realized that she had requested subpoenas, and I wanted to give her the opportunity to, for us to execute those subpoenas on her behalf if she wanted to do so. Later yesterday afternoon, I did a motion to vacate those proceedings because I was concerned that the panel, bringing back the panel together might be problematic at a later date, and ended up withdrawing that motion to vacate. I reached out to Mrs. Howard and asked her if she was in agreement to that motion to vacate. And I think initially you said, yes, that made sense. And then she said, you know, I really just want to go forward today. I don't really want the subpoenaed witnesses. And that's where we are. And I believe she's representing now that she's withdrawing. that request and wants to just finish the hearing. So I'm in agreement to what Mrs. Howard and Your Honor wants to do.
Right, so we'll proceed now, with, at the time we, adjourned your hearing, board counsel had, further her cross-examination of you, so we'll pick up there.
Okay.
Mrs. Howard, would you state your name again for the record?
Rose, Ella, Daniel, Wilson, Howard.
And could you tell this board your educational background? When did you get your nursing degree?
2004,
From where?
Hines Community College.
And so what year were you first licensed as a nurse?
2004.
And where did you work as a nurse initially?
Initially, I worked at Mississippi State Hospital. Initially, I worked, but I worked from the state hospital. I worked in this division for nursing. I worked here.
What year did you work at the Board of Nursing?
Board of nursing probably around 1989, I'm thinking. I worked with Dr. Dean Fields. She was an attorney for the board, the secretary of that board. So I worked on the board panel, sending out letters, doing what you do when they call in to find out if somebody's license has been revoked. I just ran the secretary.
So you're a paralegal of sorts,
Yeah, sit in the
legal
boardroom.
assistant. And you did that in approximately 1989 at the Board of Nursing?
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you said as a nurse, so this is prior to you being a nurse, correct? That you worked at Board of Nursing?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And then initially in 2004, you first worked at Mississippi State Hospital. When did you open up Gentle Hands?
Gentle Hands was opened in 19. October of 19 is when I opened it.
And you are an owner of Gentle
Owner.
Hands? Have you had any prior disciplinary write-ups with this board prior to today?
No, ma'am.
And do you agree that the generally accepted standard of nursing practice is not to clone medical records, not to copy medical records?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree that the generally accepted standard of nursing practice is not to pre-chart parts of medical records?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what you were taught in school related to medical record charting and whether you can take information from one day and then reuse it on another day.
In nursing, we chart day to day, what we do day to day. The day-to-day documentation of what we do. If you make a mistake, you cross the error, put your initial. If you document later than the time that it's done, then you put the date, the time of that day, and the time that you did it, and you chart it in. So you address what you missed out of the note. So that's how we were taught to chart every day on a day-to-day basis.
When you say on a day-to-day basis, does that mean that you chart at 8 a.m. what you've done for the entire day?
No, no.
You
If
chart
you
in real
chart-
time?
Yes, if you go in at 7, I put in 7 o'clock for my chart. Do medicine at 8, I put 8. If I bathe at 9, I do 9. If I do whatever I do throughout the day. With like, if you're charting every hour or every 2 hours, it's how the initial charting is, that's what you chart. You chart what you've done during that time.
Did you copy information from prior notes and then use them in subsequent notes for this particular patient we've talked about
I
today?
did those 2 days that I told you that I created
The electronic
form.
copy?
Yes, I did because I called Medicaid and asked them if there was something that could be done, and they said I couldn't. Even though I knew the standard with the Board of Nursing, this was supposed to do the way today, but I was trying to create a standardized form that could be used. So I did generate a form and left spaces and stuff and put it in there and copied it. Caused myself to make a generalized form, so I would say yes, ma'am. Answer that question.
If I told you that CMS defines cloning as copying and pasting previously recorded information from a prior note into a new note, would you say that's what you did in this case?
When I did it, I did that when I did that form I told you I created on those last 2 notes, I did do that. Because what I did was I made the form, put it on the computer, and I copied it off with leaving that space where, like, if pain changed, I did the pain after I had called them. I called Miss, I think it was Faye Johnson or someone at Public Relations first before I did it. And I asked and they said it was up to the facility, whatever kind of form they wanted to do. So I did go ahead and, read up a form, put it in the computer and copied it out. So I did copy it. So I'll admit what I did, I copied that form.
You mentioned something, I believe, about spaces in your statement yesterday. What was that?
That's what I did. when I-
Space
when I-
between entries, maybe?
Yeah, that's when I did that form. That's on the page. The page, I think it was the 22. No,
14 and 15, maybe?
yes. Okay, you see where it says complaint of pain? See where that 4 is?
Are
right
you on
there?
page 14?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay,
page
Yes.
14.
okay, where it says complaint of.
See, you see where that 4 is right there?
Mhm.
That was a space. And so what I did is I wrote in, when I assessed the pain, I wrote in what the pain was. It's like the form was already there. I would assess the pain and then I would write in what the pain was because I was generating a form. What I was trying to do was a standardized form, because when I called them, what I asked them was if they could tell me of an electronic thing I could use, or could I create a form? They said it was up to the facility. So that's why I was saying when I called Mr. Gaston, which was the field person that came out to make sure that the providers were doing what they were supposed to do, it was during the COVID time and nobody came. They kept referencing and said, well, do whatever the manual says with Medicaid. And then Medicaid in the form on page, it'll tell you that the provider can do, let's go to page 33. Where it says that they can do an appropriate form, appropriate documentation forms. So I don't know what they would consider appropriate documentation form. So that's why I was calling for clarification, so I could know, could I generate a form? Or did I have to have something electronic? Or do it has to be like, like a list? You know how you have your medicine, they're listed, and you just, put the time on the list, like you have a medication list. But somewhere we work, they have medication list, then you fill out the information there. This is what I was trying to get them to tell me what kind of form that I need to do, but I was always told to check the manual. Just do whatever appropriate for them.
This rule 1.3 that you just referenced, I believe that's Medicaid rules, part,
It is.
part 200,
It
chapter
is.
1, rule 1.3B. And if you look at number 3, just
Mhm.
below the appropriate provider documentation forms you were just
Yes,
discussing,
ma'am.
you'll see it says all entries within the medical record must be made without a space between entries.
Between the interests. So that's why I was asking them about the form, because what I wanted was a standardized form. And see, that's why I kept calling them. I said, well, it says you can't do this. They said, well, whatever the providers feel like they want to do as a form, then do the form. Because I kept calling, I called them doing, I called Alliant, I called Medicaid Public Relations. I was reaching out to everyone, trying to make sure that I didn't get this wrong, but apparently I still got it wrong. Because like I say, yes, so I would say, yes, I left those spaces. I'm not gonna say I didn't do something that I did do. So I didn't do that.
So you're admitting today that you did clone
I
records.
did do that form, I did the form.
Have you been charged criminally related to
No.
this? Do you have any proceedings with Medicaid
I have to go
related to
back to
this?
Medicaid because of this. When they send the documentation in, they sent something back to me. I have to do an appeal with Medicaid. Because of the documentation, they were asking me to repay some of the funds back. So I put in an appeal because I actually did the work. I did everything I was supposed to get the documentation. The way I did the documentation, according to the Mississippi Board rules, all that is wrong, so it threw me out. So, but my thing, I was fighting was, I actually was on the job, I did the work, I provided all the care that the child was supposed to have. I did not waiver my care any kind of way. It's just the way they say documentation has to be. I failed my part, but I was trying to get help to do it, but I will admit failing my part on it. Even though I was reaching out for help, it ended up wrong.
Ms. Howard, I would like you to look at pages 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Ma'am.
If you look at that 8 a.m. entry, starting on page 10,
Mm-hmm.
do you acknowledge that it's identical to the one that's on page 11?
It is, but I wrote it
You just wrote the exact same thing.
because that's where I gave the medicine. So that's why I wrote it, because when I go in, I do my medicines, because as I said on yesterday, I've been seeing this child from age 4 to 13, so I kind of know her medicine by heart. So when I go in, I have her medicine set up. I had a tray and I had all the medicines in because I gave her through a pig too. So I gave the medicine according to how I wrote them on there, because I'm kind of like a routine person. If the medicine is due at 8, at 8. If I'm home here, I do it at 10. If I'm on baby, I got a pay step now that I do the same thing. If I give the medicine at 8, I'm gonna do it at 8. Baby, gonna make a step. It's just, I'm routine because I feel like smaller children work better with routine than you all over the place with them. Like I can tell them, come on, let's take your bath, 7 o'clock. They know, come on, let's go. They know they're going straight in the bathroom. I don't really have to tell them the direction to go. They know where we're going. So I kind of keep them on routine. That way they work better. They kind of know where they're going. There may be my mistake for doing it that way, but I'm pretty much a routine person when it comes down to here, especially when it comes to children.
But you're telling me when I look at pages 10, 11, 12, and 13, and that 8 a.m. entry is all the same, you did not copy it.
No, I wrote
You
it all in.
rewrote it.
Yes, ma'am, I wrote it all in.
You only admit to copying on pages 14 and
In those
15.
other pages, I left the images and spaces.
What would you do different if you're allowed to go forward, what would you do differently?
I wouldn't do this again. I would go back to what I was taught in nursing school and what I was taught with the nursing. I would not do this again. I will make sure that everything is done according to what the board says do, not even down. I know Medicaid say you can do your own form or something. My next thing, what I would do, I would get me an electronic system that would put my notes in there and I can document through the electronic system according to what the standard is for that. But in writing my information down, I would go back to what I was doing. I would write it, make sure everything was done. They would T cross, I cross, everything else back to what I was taught in school by the nursing board. That's what I would do. It's like I said, I know documentation, but I was trying to get help to try to set up a standard form so that I could use and that other people could use in order to try to get the job moving. But as I said, I will go back and just make sure. And at least now, if I did something electronic, make sure I go to them and say, is this appropriate? Can you tell me if this is appropriate? Rather than trying to make all the phone calls and still get it all, out of proportion.
No further questions.
Right now, any questions from the hearing panel for Ms. Howard?
I have a few, Ms.
Okay,
Howard.
go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is you created a generalized form. Now, when I think of generalized form, and help me understand, I think of like a computer generated form that you might check a box, but then you would write out administered this, held this med, so on and so forth, right?
Mhm.
Was that your objective when you say generalized form?
What I did was, this is what I was trying to do, but I didn't do it right.
Right.
What I did was, how with the patient, when I call names, we had a routine that we did every day,
Right.
same thing every day.
Sure.
So what I did, I created the form, but like, I took note, there was no date, no time, or anything on the form. I just made a generalized write up, left spaces in order, like, when I went in, I said to the patient, I would say, what's your pain today, baby? On a 0 to 10, what is it? She might say 4. So I would write in the form 4. If I went on down and she had some other issues, wherever there was the space, I wrote. Now I had, it's not in here, but for vital signs, I have the form like you're talking about, that you check, and you
Yeah.
write in the temperature and all that. It's just not here.
Sure.
There was another form that I did.
Okay, so what you're saying by creating a form, you actually copied a nurse's note.
It was another.
It was a note.
That's what I
It
was
was
saying.
pre-written, it
That's
was
what I-
copied, you
Right.
left spots, but
Right,
it was
right,
it free charting?
right.
It was what we define in school, nurses school as,
Yeah, Like, it's pre-chart.
It's pre-chart. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
see, but
And-
that's what I was saying. I was trying to create a form, but I created it wrong.
Right, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, you said was this your one patient that you
Yes,
spent the day with? Okay, so while I understand the beauty of creating a form that would make a job more efficient and effective, you didn't have time to chart this while you sat at her bedside? Like,
did.
you need, okay,
I did.
but why did you copy it if you had hours and hours? I mean, this is one page. I mean, even if you charted as you went, your longest entry, your 8 AM that was copied, right? Taking you more than 2 minutes? What was the urgency of refining the process if you had time, right?
Okay.
Am I misunderstanding?
This is what I did.
Okay,
Since it was my company and I could send someone out to take care of the client, I was trying to make a form for the company per se, for someone can go out and take care of the client. That's why I say, I got it all put through.
okay.
I take responsibility for it because I was trying to say, if I couldn't go and I set another LPN, I was trying to do a standardized form for the company per se. That they could use, but I went by it wrong
Right.
because I got all messed up in.
For sure, because let's
Yes.
take it a step farther.
Yes.
If you would have sent another LPN
Then it
out
would've been
with your note, if you would have sent another LPN out with your pre-charted note, then that would have precluded him or her to falsification, documentation and all that too. So it wasn't gonna be safe either way,
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's just,
Okay.
I got it all,
yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
I'm just one to admit what I've done.
I
And
understand.
I realized that I got all confused in it, but I was trying to get the help. But I'm not gonna sit here and say that I didn't do something that I did, but I didn't intentionally try to do the wrong documentation and just got up in the air, I would say, trying to figure out what I need to do, but basically I wanted something like electronic, which that I could just change. So that's where I am.
We've heard you say, that you failed on your part. We've heard you say that. I wanted just one more question. In the copied part, the 8 AM entry, for example, if the patient would not have required their Flonase 1 spray each nair for allergy, would you have just struck through that and initialed? Is that how you were?
No,
No?
no, go to notes. I have other notes out there that everything is not like this. Y'all have 6 pages for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything, all my other notes is different because there's times when we were at the lab or something that the 8 o'clock wasn't there, but we only addressing what's before us.
Right, no,
But
I
the
see
thing-
that. I'm on page 11 and I see Flonase 1 spray each nair documented in the exact same writing, the exact same way in the 2 different entries. So to me, that says you pre-charted that as well. So my question is, if you would not have administered that Flonase, would you have struck through it and
No.
initialed it?
No, I
No?
wouldn't leave notes.
Oh, you would have done an entire,
No.
so it would have negated the copying of the note for the first place. So you,
So that's what I'm saying, it's just all over the place. And really, I did something that really just kind of failed pretty much, because either way, if I hadn't did the Flonase, I was still gonna have to write the note. I was just trying to come up with a standardized form that didn't work. So this is what I'm saying, no ma'am, I would not have crossed it out, I would have wrote a note. Because it would have changed everything. See, I did it basically, if the date was the same, then I could use the form and put the 4 in or whatever. But if the date changed, I'll have to write another note, because I had other notes where we was at the lab, we went in the house at 8 o'clock, so the medicine could not be given at 8 o'clock.
right,
Some of the medicine had to be given at 12 o'clock, some of it had to be given at 1 o'clock, but they just so happen that those notes are not here. We can only address what's before us.
no, correct. I concur.
So yes,
My,
ma'am.
but my issue right here, right now, is that we're calling a pre-copied note a form. Do you truly believe this is a form in and of itself?
Well, talking to you all now, no ma'am, but at the time, I really thought I was generating a form, but talking to you all before the board right now, no ma'am, I can clearly say it's not a form. But I did call myself making a form, something that I could use. But talking to the board and going back to what I was taught in nursing school, I can say no, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no idea.
Any additional questions from any other members of the panel?
When you made that form, was you gonna go back and delete comments?
When did it come
When you
in?
made the form, it was sort of like cut and paste. Was you gonna go back and erase the notes that you had in there? When you was trying to make the form,
Erase the note?
the note? The documentation?
When you say erase the note,
Yeah.
you want to take it out?
And then make your,
I'm talking about another one? No, ma'am, I would have wrote it by hand on the form. You talking about like, if I had, you talking about if something had changed, right? Is that what you're
after
talking
you generated your form, after you copied it. you know, you make your copy. Was you gonna go back and take all the note out and leave it blank?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You talking about once I made it. You said, was I just gonna do away with it altogether? No, ma'am. That's what I'm saying. I found myself trying to do a standardized form. That's what I was trying to do, something that I could use. I wasn't gonna go back and erase it. That's what I was telling her, that if something had a change on the date, I wrote other notes, because like when we went to the doctor, I made notes, handwritten notes where at the doctor, at neurology, or at getting the GI doctor for the G tube. There was other notes made that form was never touched. I made this form for a general form, like we go through the day, like I told you, we did routine. So I used the form as a routine form. If something changed through that day, I documented on a nurse's note, things that occurred during the day. This was just a routine form, like I go in the house, nothing changed. You know, day to day, some things don't change through a day, sometimes they do. When they changed, I did new documentation. I documented.
You were just trying to make you a form.
Yes, ma'am. I was just trying to make a form. I was trying to do something legally that I can make a form, but I failed.
Any additional questions? Any, thing you want to, based on the board's line of examination, any additional questions or, statements from either of the parties?
No, Your Honor.
Well, I just want to say that I pride myself in being a good nurse. Pride myself doing that. I pride myself in taking care of my clients to the best of my ability. At this point, I failed in documentation. I did the work. I did everything I needed to do, but y'all know that documentation said, if it ain't written, it ain't done. That's what the rule always says. If it's not written, it's not done. So I failed in that, and I'll admit that I failed in that. But I pride myself in integrity, being the best nurse I know I can be. Because before I can't be that nurse, I'll walk away. This same client that we're addressing, I walked out of the house 6 months before their contract was over because the mother was not compliant to it anymore. I'd rather step out than stay somewhere and charge for something that I didn't do. I don't do that. That I don't do. And I'm just saying to you all, as the board, as my governing body, as a nurse, I regret and I apologize for what I've done, but it's neither here or there. But I just want you to know my integrity stands great. I made a mistake. I came back today because I've cried every day. I've never been in trouble, never in my whole entire life. But I see before the board that I've worked so hard and I didn't get here. Y'all excuse my tears. I came back today without the people because I just couldn't take it anymore. I'd rather you all go ahead, do what you gonna do, than Mr. Shelby weigh in on me. I've learned my lesson. Go back to my original, where I started, what I learned from. To go back. Because like I said, I never wanted to sit in the seat. I never wanted to sit here. But that's all I gotta say. Hearing in case number 2023-0665.
And we can, end with closing statements, starting with our board council.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mississippi Code annotated 73-15-29-1 provides that the board has the power to take disciplinary action on the license of a nurse if that nurse has violated the rules and regulations governing nursing. The nurse's notes for the days in question speak for themselves. CMS defines cloning as copying and pasting previously recorded information from a prior note into a new note. Medicaid rules also provide that all entries within the medical record must be made without a space between entries, and that's Title 23, Part 200, Chapter 1, Rule Point 3B3. Today, you've heard testimony that Mrs. Howard admits that she copied notes. She admits to cloning. And this is not what you heard Dr. Burke say is taught in nursing school. Nurses are not taught to use prior notes and reuse them on a new note because that would be easier. Accuracy of patient records is essential. It's absolutely essential to safety and patient care. So today I would state that Mrs. Howard failed to meet the generally accepted standards of nursing practice based upon the testimony of Dr. Burks, that she failed to maintain records in a professional manner, and she made some false entries in records and incorrect entries into records. Because the patient presents similarly or on a routine basis on any given day does not negate the requirement that medical records be done in real time and completed with accuracy. Again, the evidence today has been clear and convincing. The nurse's notes speak for themselves, and I would ask the panel to implement discipline in line with the authority that's found in Mississippi Code annotated 73-15-29-2. Thank you.
Anything, from you, any closing from you, Ms. Howard? Closing statement.
Well, only thing I say is, the rules are the rules, the laws are the laws, that's it. But I was just trying to create standardized form so that I could, because I work with a lot of places that does have standardized forms, so I don't know how I got off with all this, but that's all.
This concludes the hearing. At this time, I'll entertain a motion from the board to go into closed session to determine whether grounds exist to go into executive session to deliberate on case number 2023-0665.
Make the motion to go into closed session. Second.
All in favor? Any opposition? Hearing none, at this time, I'll entertain a motion from the board to actually go into executive session to deliberate on this case.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the board is now in executive session. So we'll return with its decision. All right, we are back on the record and I will announce the board's decision in case number 2023-0665 involving the licensee, Ms. Rose Ella Daniel Wilson Howard. The board finds unanimously, Ms. Howard guilty of all charges, charge 1 guilty, charge 2 guilty, charge 3 guilty, charge 4 guilty. And the penalty imposed is suspension. The suspension is for 90 days or less. It can be lifted after completion of courses. And the courses are legal aspects of nursing, a board-approved course in legal aspects of nursing, board-approved course in documentation, a board-approved course in ethics. So the suspension is for 90 days, but it could be lifted at any time prior to the expiration of that 90-day period upon submission of proof of completion of the courses. There's also a formal reprimand and a $500 fine. And this concludes the board's the announcement of the board's decision. Do you have any questions?
No, yeah, on the negative part, y'all tell me how is that was done, since you covered the documentation? What part? The short one. That was because the documentation.
Will charge 1, 2, and 3, and 4 are outlined in your complaint. The evidence heard by the board during the hearing is what the board based its decision on. So you know, you can look at your final order.
Trying to figure out,
Yeah.
what that was.
Yeah.
How did they?
When you get your final order, which should be within 45 days, you know, you should be able to read that order and you'll see the facts that were that the board based its decision on in there. So, other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes the hearings for today.